She begged to ride that bike. She even packed early. Then her mom canceled everything. The night before our trip, Chuck Ellison had spent weeks planning the perfect spring break. A hard-working mechanic from Athens, Georgia, Chuck didn't have a lot, but what he did have, he poured into one thing: his daughter Ellie. She was 8. Bright-eyed, wild about anything with wheels. Chuck's garage became her playground. Her helmet always a little too big, but her heart all in. This year, Chuck had promised her a real adventure, 4-wheel dirt biking in the Smoky Mountains. It wasn't Cancun, but to Ellie, it was everything, and Chuck had made it happen. He saved from every overtime shift, bought Ellie a kid-sized Yamaha dirt bike, even ordered custom gear, gloves, boots, elbow pads, all in pink and purple, the kind of stuff you don't buy unless you're sure she's going. And she was going. At least, she was, until the night before the trip. An email, cold, formal, 2 lines long. Plans have changed. Ellie will not be going on the trip. Do not attempt pickup. Tracy, his ex-wife, the woman who for years had made co-parenting feel like walking a tightrope over lava, and just like that, no explanation, no discussion, no Ellie. Chuck stared at the screen, reread it, and then heard Ellie in the next room, zipping up her tiny duffel bag with her pink goggles sticking out the side. How do you tell an 8-year-old the one person she trusts the most, her own mother, just canceled her dreams? He didn't. He just sat there, numb. The next morning, he watched Ellie eat cereal in silence. The dirt bike was already mounted on the trailer outside, brand new, never ridden. When he broke the news, she didn't cry, not really, but her hands shook as she unzipped the bag. That's when Chuck knew this wasn't about the trip. This was about control. Tracy had done this before, canceling visits, making Chuck look like the flaky one, but this time, it was crueler, because Ellie was the collateral. What hurt most wasn't the money, not the lost cabin deposit, not the wasted gas, the hours of planning, the sleepless nights, balancing bills. It was the way Ellie asked one question before going back to her mom's. Did I do something wrong, Daddy? That question haunted him. So that night, Chuck did something he hadn't done in over a year. He opened his old legal folders, dusted off the paperwork, and called his lawyer. You canceled her trip out of spite, and now you're playing the victim? You're not protecting Ellie, Tracy. You're punishing her. 2 weeks later, Chuck Ellison sat under flickering fluorescent lights, waiting for his name to be called. He wasn't here for revenge. He was here because he refused to let his daughter become a pawn in someone else's power game. Across the courtroom aisle sat Tracy, calm, composed, smug, like she'd already won. Chuck knew that look. She was used to pulling strings, especially when she thought no one could cut them. The judge, a sharp-eyed woman with years of weariness in her voice, started flipping through the custody records. Mr. Ellison, she asked, is it true you lost over $1,500 due to the canceled trip? Yes, Your Honor. I bought safety gear, rented the cabin, even purchased a new dirt bike for Ellie. Tracy scoffed. He didn't even tell me he was taking her out of town. I have the email where you agreed, Chuck interrupted, sliding a printed thread across the table. The judge read it silently. The air in the room froze. Miss Ellison, did you send this response? Yes, that's fine. Thanks for letting me know. Tracy blinked. That was before I found out he was filing for full custody. There it was. The real reason, not concern, not safety, control. Chuck didn't gloat. He didn't even speak. He just looked at the judge with the quiet desperation of a father who's been fighting battles no one sees. Miss Ellison, the judge said coldly, you knowingly revoked an agreed-upon visitation and caused emotional and financial harm, not just to Mr. Ellison, but to Ellie. That silence. It hit harder than any gavel. Chuck listened as the judge ruled in his favor. Tracy would reimburse him for the trip expenses, but honestly he didn't care about the money. He cared that for once, someone in authority saw the manipulation for what it was. But as the courtroom emptied, Chuck caught a glimpse of Tracy, no longer smug, but furious. This wasn't over. Outside, he called Ellie just to hear her voice. She told him she'd been grounded for talking back. Did you talk back? Chuck asked. No, Ellie said, quiet. I just asked why you were the bad guy. That moment broke him more than anything in court ever could, because now, the battle wasn't just in court, it was inside Ellie's heart, and Chuck knew, if he didn't fight smarter, he might lose the one thing he— The reimbursement check from Tracy showed up 2 weeks late, and unsigned, a final jab in a long war, but Chuck didn't care. What What haunted him now was Ellie's silence. The trip was long gone, but something else had been lost that spring break. The rhythm between a father and his little girl. Every Monday visit felt different now. Ellie was quieter, polite, even cheerful, but not the same. She didn't run into his arms anymore. She didn't ask about She didn't ask about anything. Chuck tried. He baked her favorite cookies, bought her the comic books they used to read together, even set up the tent in the backyard like they used to when she was younger. But Ellie smiled the way kids smile when they're trying not to cry. One night, after she fell asleep watching a movie on the couch, Chuck sat beside her and whispered, "You can always talk to me, baby. I'm not mad. I just miss you." She didn't stir, but a single tear slid down her cheek. That was the moment it hit him. This wasn't about who was right. This was about who'd been hurt. And Ellie, she'd been caught in the middle. Tracy may have started the war, but Chuck realized he'd played into it. The courtroom, the papers, the blame, none of it fixed what mattered. So the next day he made a choice. No more custody fight, no more courtrooms. Instead he invited Tracy to coffee. She didn't show. Then he wrote a letter, not a legal one, a real one. "This isn't working. Ellie's losing both of us. You win. No more court. Just let's try to be decent." Weeks passed. Then one day, Ellie showed up with a surprise in her backpack. A drawing. It was the three of them. Chuck, Ellie and even Tracy at the park. No dirt bikes. No court. Just a picnic. "I drew this in art class," Ellie said. "We had to draw a place we wish we could go." Chuck smiled. Not because they were there yet, but because maybe, just maybe, they could get there someday. He hung the drawing on the fridge.